Good morning, everybody. I'm Ed Barco here with Bobby Atkins, and we are the Veterans Edition of Real Estate Jerky. Thanks for being here, Bobby.
Thank you as always, Ed. I appreciate
My
it.
pleasure. See what's new. I don't know. You were in the Navy. I was in the Navy. I thank God I'm not in now.
Yeah.
I've talked everybody I talked to on Helping the Brave podcast who just getting out or been in for 20, 30 years are like, this is not my military anymore.
Yeah. See, I haven't talked to any vets that are transitioning out recently.
I do all the time on that program.
Yeah. My dad used to tell me about his Navy, which was totally different from my Navy.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, watching videos going back to World War II is all dudes. You didn't wear shirts, especially if you're in the South Pacific, working on a carrier deck or something. And it's a different world.
It's hot and sweaty there. That's what, hot and humid. That's why they weren't wearing shirts.
Yeah.
Because by the time they're done, they're soaking wet anyway.
Both my deployments, we were out in the Indian Ocean. And some days it'd be 120. It was pretty miserable out there.
My deployments were Camp Pendleton. When I had to go out and take pictures on the helicopters and do all the readiness stuff before I was physical therapy. But back to what the difference from the past military and today's military. In the past, it wasn't about the one, it was not about the individual, it was about the whole, right?
Yeah.
Now it's all about the individual, and that's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, how do you have cohesiveness?
Yeah, how do you do anything? How do you march? How do you do anything if it's all about one person?
Yeah,
and that's where the problem I think today is, and that needs to get back to. It's about the whole country, not just one person in the country or one little thing. There's so many. Somebody said, that's 5% of the population. What about the other 95%? Why aren't we focused on them?
Yeah, I think it's just endemic of this generation, man. I mean, they're so self-absorbed.
Well, that's your fault. My fault. Our kids' fault. Parents caused that. Schools caused that. We'll move on. But, we're here about helping you buy a home and help you getting a loan, refinances, and all that good stuff under VA. Because VA is the best program. And so you can go up to, between one, depending on where you go, 1.5 to 2.5 million. But once you go over the conforming loan limit, then it's called the jumbo. That's just different pricing. The reason I bring that up is conforming loan limits are like 726, 500, but we're thinking conforming is going to go up to 750. And some people it hasn't even been announced, and people are already doing those loans.
No kidding.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when there's a lot less loans. You do things that you don't normally do, like what we talked about on Tuesday with Fannie came out and only 5% down for multifamily properties if you're going to live in one of the units.
Yeah. Now, what was their incentive for dropping it down to 5%?
Because they want to get more people in those that live in there and not have investor loans.
Yeah.
Because that's a primary resident loan. You follow me?
Uh-huh.
So because during the pandemic, there was so many second homes and investment properties bought through Fannie and Freddie. They all came and said, we don't want this anymore. So we're raising the pricing ridiculously. And the 10% down second home program that I did for years, that was amazing. They took away, and it's like, you got to put 25% down to make it work.
No kidding.
Yeah. Where before 10% down, the rates were okay. And that's the other thing. We're in such uncharted territory right now. We haven't been here since the night 79, 80. And I don't want to get into the whole thing that if you look back at a lot of the videos you can see on TikTok and places, they're bringing up the stuff of the rates of that time and how things slowed down and all that, how that all changed. So that was all the Carter administration and what they did with inflation and spending money, kind of like what's happening now. The only way it was changed is because Ronald Reagan came into the picture. So we need a Ronald Reagan to come into the picture in the next year to fix this for president and change the administration, because you can't fix what we're doing when you have an administration still spending and not caring about fiscal responsibility.
Yeah, they're in denial, and it's like when
they're not in denial, they just don't care.
Well, it's like using credit cards to pay off credit cards.
They don't care.
All right.
No, you don't understand. They're spending. It's just like I saw a thing about California and the homeless. I know we're a little off topic, but it is such a multi-billion-dollar industry now. We have the most homeless we've ever had in California. It will never go away because the amount of money that is spent on the program goes back to the politicians. And I know I'm getting on my soapbox, but they have 170,000 in California after we spent $20 billion on fixing the problem.
Yeah.
We have more. Too much money is at stake now, and that's our problem.
Gotcha. So I'm guessing.
Sorry.
No. I mean, I guess we could tie it into housing. Maybe some of these politicians own the hotels where they're housing these.
Oh my
unhoused
goodness.
people.
Just the whole thing of kicking people out of homes. They kick veterans out of homes in New York to put migrants in them.
Oh, is that a recent story?
That's like 2 months ago, 3 months ago.
No.
But it's just, that's the problem. And that we do have a lot of homeless vets, and they need help, and there's ways to help them. But the most important thing is for you as a veteran. I know you're watching the show to see how you can get into a home. There's many ways to get in the home. The first step is just reaching out to us and seeing which is what we can do for you. I had some clients reach out to me, and he's a veteran, that he's married, and typically on a VA loan, you're married, in California, it's community property state. Even if your wife's not going on the loan, we have to use her debts against you. And his FICO score was 640, his wife was 620, and most people go, well, that's not that big of a deal. It's almost a point difference in interest rate.
Yeah, I
because
know
that 20 points. That's why everybody says, I can get somebody with a 580. I don't want to give somebody an 8.5 when I can give them a 7.75.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because I can't believe I'm saying those with a straight face as long as I've been in this industry. And I told somebody else on the radio show, it's like, I was telling Mike, I'm like, this is almost like when I got into the business. I was giving 9s and then 8s, and people loved me.
Yeah.
Now we're completely the opposite almost 30 years later.
So one thing I wanted you to go.
Sorry, I'm just got sidetracked.
That's all right. One thing I wanted you to go into in depth on, or at least touch on a little bit more. In the last show, we were talking about how the veteran has to qualify on their own. They can't have any co-signers, right? Or any people on the loan. So if you could.
All right. So a veteran can do a VA loan with another veteran or their spouse. That's it. No parents, no grandparents. It has to be that, unless the grandparents are veterans.
Okay.
It has to be a veteran and a veteran, or a veteran and the spouse. So if you're married and you're a couple, I don't care if you're husband, male, female, male, female, female, as long as you're married and one's a veteran, that'll work. If you're two buds and you're like, hey, let's buy a place together because I can't afford it by myself and you can't afford it by yourself, and we're two veterans, that works also.
Okay. So okay.
That's but it used to be, so if you have a married couple and they both were veterans, most people would put both eligibility on there. Don't do that. Just do one.
Okay.
That way you still have the full eligibility of the other person. Used to be almost they had to go across both of them.
Now, do you have to be married to use your significant other, or is it like a legal loophole?
Well, it's got to be married. Okay. We don't ask for a marriage certificate.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because some people are married.
Stated relationship.
Some people are married and they had a service, but they didn't pull a marriage license, because that's just how they are. I don't know if up in some upper areas where that they go camping and stuff. Those places, they have things a little different than we do in other places, and they might not pull a marriage license and still get married in front of people.
Yeah.
And that to them, they're married.
Well, yeah, man. That
I'm
just like a larger conversation.
Huh? No, I'm just stating is, if you're married, you're married. We don't ask for a marriage certificate to prove it. Mm-hmm. Just like when we ask, you're going to ask, someone's going to give you money for a down payment or other stuff on our loans, and it's a family member. We don't ask for ancestry DNA or any of that kind of stuff to prove that they're part of your familiar relationship. It's whatever you think and is your family. I had a lady who, I know a little off topic, but I had a lady who her mom went on. It was not her biological mom. It was somebody who was there for her whole life, and she thought she was her mom to her. You follow me? So that's a mom. It's not blood relationship like people think it is. It doesn't have to be.
Gotcha. That's good to know.
Yeah. So, I mean, people get all caught up in that stuff. It's like, no, you got to be an attorney these days, right? Words is what they use in court. So it's however you state it. Gotcha. And the reason I say that, back when we were doing, and this is going to get off topic, short sales, you had to have a hardship. And some people told me they were separated because one would leave for work. So they were, I don't want, if that's whatever. I'm just saying it's how you use the word and how people interpret the word is different, is all I'm getting at. It's not illegal. It's not whatever. It's how, if you say they're separated and you don't, in their mind, because whatever their definition is different than your definition. So unless you go on a form and says, this is a definition of separation, right? You follow me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're just, again, it's my way. Talk to me. I can help you with anything.
Yeah.
I'll do it. I'll push that line as far as I can without breaking it.
Like I say,
because I don't want to go to jail over $5,000.
I like hearing all the nuances. So
it's just different. I'd say it's like being an attorney these days. And in this business, it's how can you get around problems? And I did a thing the other day because I was looking at different things and they had me take this test. And the two things that I have, I can come up with an idea and I can implement an idea, which is about 15% of the population. Well, it has helped me drastically. Now I know why I do really well in this industry, because when I'm told no, I come up with a different way of how to do it and how to implement it.
So stubbornness.
No, that's not the same thing. Stubbornness is I wouldn't change from what I'm doing because no matter what, I'm right.
But you're stubborn. You don't want to give up.
Right? Well, I know. I figure a way around it by thinking about it and figuring out a different program. That's why I've only had 2 fallouts in the last 10 years.
Gotcha.
And one was just recently because these days with rates so high, there is not the forgiveness that there used to be. Like, oh my God, we just found out that can't cover this now because this changed, and then you make a little change and it's no big deal. It is huge now. Like I had a guy who he owned a apartment complex and something else, and we didn't have to hit him with that stuff, but he told me one of the loans was for this other stuff. So I'm thinking it's paid by the other stuff. No, that's not what he meant. He meant he took the HELOC out on this other property to go buy the other stuff. So it was $1,000 difference in a payment per month, which is now $2,000 to cover that.
Gotcha.
You follow me? So it's just, you don't find this stuff out till you really dig into stuff when they have a lot of property. So it's somebody just W-2 wage earner. It's easy. But when you start having all these properties, you got to look at tax returns and other stuff and look outside the box just in case. And there's not the same forgiveness as before, because if it was a 5% rate or a 4% rate, you could absorb it only be maybe a difference of $500 a month. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's it. And so you have to be really careful these days. You can't not tell everything and not tell and somebody's like, well, he lied. No, he didn't. He didn't know, right? He didn't understand that's how we took the statement. So you got to be really clear. Got to get off subject a little bit.
That's okay, man. Hey,
did I help out anybody at all?
When we get off subject, we're still learning, right?
I hope so.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is make sure if you're doing this stuff that we know everything and how everything's set up. Don't tell me everything. I want to know everything and let me make the decision on what's important.
Yeah. No, good call, man.
That's what's important. That's what, and anybody, even if you're not working with me, whoever you're working with, tell that loan officer everything under the sun.
Well, thank you, Ed. I appreciate it.
No problem. All right, let's get out of here. All right, make it a great day. Thanks for being here. I hope we gave you a little bit of information today. Bobby, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right, we'll talk to you next week.